A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, David Paldano. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at your headlines this evening.
Sri Lanka's public and private sector employees imposed with the highest monthly income tax in the country's history.
බදු ගෙවලා ණය වාරික ගෙවලා විදුලි බිල ගෙවලා හිස් අතින් ගෙදර යන්න වෙන තත්ත්වයක් උදා වෙලා තියෙනවා.
සමහර ආචාර්යවරුන්ට අද පඩිපත බිඳුවක් වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
Central Bank staff support Black Protest Week.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාට මේ මැසේජ් එක යන්න ඕන කොහොමද? මොකද මෙතන වැඩ නැවතුනොත් එහෙම ඒගොල්ලෝ ATM එකේ ගිහලා සල්ලි ගන්න බෑ. ලංකාව නවතිනවා. අපි මේ ඊට කලින් මේක විසඳ ගන්න මේ try කරන්නේ.
Central Bank governor says that painful decisions will have to be taken to protect the poorest in the country. President at Rhythm of Harmony concert to mark the 74th Republic Day of India. Armed gang steals cash deposit machines from Gampula Bank with over 7 million rupees. Authorities agree to revise their decision on power outages during A-level period. Andhra Kumara elaborates on its policies.
මා කියන්නේ ආණ්ඩුව අපි අවධානය යොමු කරන්නේ ප්‍රධාන ශේෂ්ත්‍ර දෙකකට විතරයි. එකක් බල ශක්තිය, දෙක මූල්‍ය වෙළඳපොළ.
Today, Wednesday, the 25th of January, went down in history as the day in which a majority of the country's public and private sector employees were imposed with the highest income tax ever imposed on the monthly salary and allowances. The government's controversial new tax law, the Inland Revenue Amendment Act, was passed in Parliament last year. The new tax regime will impose an extraordinary maximum of 36% tax bracket on monthly income, with the lowest tax bracket starting at 6% for those earning over 100,000 rupees per month. The inflation rate for December of 2022 was 59.2% greater than what was recorded during the same period a year earlier. Although inflation was recorded as a drop compared to the previous months, it is still at a high, and the daily expenses of the public for food, transportation, education, etc. had spiked by 200%. Here are a few examples. Petrol was priced at 207 rupees per litre on the 25th of January 2022, and today it costs 370 rupees. 1 kilogram of sugar, which was 130 rupees, is now sold for 209 rupees. 1 kilogram of samba rice, which was 160 rupees, today costs 210 rupees or higher. Bank loan interest rates have spiked over 30%. Several banks increased their rates for existing loans as well. In addition, there is a 15% VAT on all goods and services, coupled with an additional national building tax of 3%. The US dollar had a rate of 202 rupees in January of 2022, and today it has depreciated to 371 rupees. In addition, every single thing that is imported to Sri Lanka costs more than what it was before. So, the government imposed this new tax regime while the people are also burdened by these expenses.
Doctors in the public service, university teachers, bank employees, engineers and professionals belonging to 15 organizations that form the Professionals Trade Union Alliance launched a campaign against the unjust tax regime. However, it appears that this campaign has not been entirely successful, as on payday the pay-as-you-earn tax or pay tax was imposed on all monthly earnings of more than 100,000 rupees. However, the Professionals Trade Union Alliance have not abandoned their campaign, and the university teachers protested against the tax regime opposite the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. They stressed that although they are prepared to pay taxes, they are not prepared to pay unjust taxes.
Our members have been affected from three sides. First, the cost of living has increased. Second, the banks have increased interest rates on debt. Third, the new tax regime. With this situation, our members won't have a cent to take home as salary. This would lead to a mass exodus of brain drain. This tax policy has a negative impact on the society as a whole.
This is a network. When we spend, there is a segment that depends on that. If a normal worker comes to our home for work, we make a payment. However, we cannot do that now.
The academic staff at the Open University of Colombo also protested against the tax regime.
අද දවසේ අපිට අපේ පඩි
We received our salary slips today. Some of the university teachers have received 0 rupees as a salary, when whatever that remains is cut off for the loan. We do not loot the central bank. We did not grant tax holidays for rogues. Gotabaya Rajapaksa reduced the import tax on sugar to 25 cents. This unjust tax regime will lead the country towards destruction.
ප්‍රතිපත්තිය නිසා තමයි මේ රටේ අද මේ දැවැන්ත විනාශයක් ඇතුළත තිබෙන්නේ.
The issues within the university system have not been understood properly, and the salaries of the university teachers are being looted. Are you doing so because you have a vision for the future of the university education system?
පිළිබඳව විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ක්ෂේත්‍රය පිළිබඳව දැක්මක් තිබෙන නිසාද
University teachers at the University of Sabaragamuwa engaged in a protest march from the university premises to the Pambahinna junction.
The parents from the working masters only aspire to provide a good education for their children, even if they have to starve themselves. We condemn the efforts being made to bring this country crashing down by introducing such an unjust tax regime.
University teachers from the Eastern University Sri Lanka protested, demanding an amendment to the unjust tax regime. The staff at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka was seen reporting to work dressed in black. Newsfirst's correspondent said that a program to obtain signatures to a petition against the new tax policy took place inside the Central Bank in Colombo. Central Bank staff protested opposite the CBSL premises using black flags. However, Sri Lanka police intervened to prevent it.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාට මේ මැසේජ් එක යන්න ඕන කොහොමද? මොකද මෙතන වැඩ නැවැත්තුවොත් එහෙම ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒගොල්ලන්ට ATM එකේ සල්ලි ගන්න බෑ. ලංකාව නවතිනවා. අපි මේ ඊට කලින් මේක විසඳ ගන්න මේ try කරා.
Thereafter, Sri Lanka police removed the black flags that were raised opposite the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
අපිට කොට්ටිය දෙන්න අපේ කොට්ටිය අපේ කොට්ටිය හරි කොට්ටිය දෙන්නකෝ අපේ සල්ලි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කවුද කීවේ කොඩි ගලන්නේ මෙතන අපේ මේ අපි විරෝධතාවයක් දක්වන්නේ අපේ විරෝධතාවයක් නෙමෙයි දක්වන්නේ කළු කොඩියක් දාලා කළු කොඩියක්වත් දාන්න බැරිද අපිට දැන් මේකෙන් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ නෑ මේකෙන් මොකද්ද වෙන හානිය මේකෙන් වෙන හානිය මොකද්ද මෙහෙමයි ඔබතුමාලා කඩේ යනවා කියලා ඔහොම යන්න බෑ අපි මෙතන මේ කොඩියක් ගෙවුවා කියලා හානියක් නෑ මොකද්ද වෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ
The central bank governor was at the monetary policy review when the CBSL staff decided to protest.
When we came to the press conference, we saw some of your staff were wearing black, protesting against the tax. You are also wearing black.
Yeah, I'm also black.
Are you also black?
We have no restriction. Anyone can wear any color. So we are very kind of liberal. You know, that's not an issue. There
is no restriction at the central bank on the color of your attire. Anyone can come wearing any color they prefer. I am wearing black, but that is not an issue. You said there were protests against the tax. The people working at the central bank are wise and they are aware that there is no point in protesting against the tax at the central bank. It should be done at another authority. We have no issue. Anyone can wear what they prefer. As per the law of the land, trade unions can engage in protests. That is not an issue to the central bank.
Journalists questioned any attempt to revise the tax policy.
The
authority for that lies with the Treasury, Finance Ministry and the Parliament. We are not involved in that process. What I can say is this: when there is a crisis in the country, we can only recover through a painful process. The citizens, central bank employees and everyone else need to understand how that pain will be shared. Due to the spike in inflation, the poorest were affected. We need to provide them with relief in order to protect that. We need to have a tax policy to protect them. As a contribution, everyone will see a decline in their income.
Experts point out that though the tax is imposed on those with a monthly income of over 100,000 rupees, it can have a negative impact on all segments of society.
Even though they receive high income, more than 100,000, and those income they cannot spend because they have to pay their dues to their creditors. So even though they, on average, they receive, for example, 400,000 rupee income, their take-home salary would be much less than that, maybe 60,000 or 70,000. And with that income only, they have to survive. And on the one hand, the cost of living has gone up, so it's skyrocketed. And on the other hand, now the banks, they are trying to increase their interest rates for the loans that already taken. So it's going to be a very daring situation for a income earner or a payroll employee to maintain the living standard. And in order to live, they have to find some other alternative income. Otherwise, they are unable to sustain this living standard and also pay all the taxes. It's not a kind of a situation where when the government should increase taxes by increasing tax rates. That tax rate should not alter the economic activities of the taxpayer. And the taxpayer should be able to bear that tax burden. This is unbearable, this is unrealistic, and this is injustice. This tax policy will not bring the necessary revenue for the government.
The Government Medical Officers Association continued with a black protest week against the unjust tax regime of the government. Doctors at the Kurunegala Teaching Hospital were seen wearing black bands at work.
When the public sector employee gets the salary after tax deduction, loan installments, he or she will be left with nothing. Yet the government is spending 200 million rupees for Independence Day. We cannot continue like this. Listen to the people. If not, the black protest will become a black month that will fall on the government.
A similar protest took place at the Dehiatakandia Hospital as well.
Most of these hospitals face a shortage of doctors. Operations are taking place in the midst of these shortages. In spite of that, the government is imposing a massive tax on doctors and professionals. This will continue to let down professionals at large.
Doctors attached to the Ricky Lagaskara General Hospital engaged in a protest as well. Staff at the Hamathura General Hospital and the Theldenia Base Hospital also protested wearing black bands. Black flags were raised at the Polonnaruwa General Hospital premises in support of the Black Protest Week.
This is a country bankrupt by its leaders. Professionals, state workers and the entire populace of this bankrupt country are the ones who are suffering, while the rulers who put the country in this situation are still living lavishly. The 16 billion rupees that were lost due to the sugar tax scam still have not been recovered. 11 billion rupees were lost to the bond scam. There is no willingness to extradite wrongdoers. More than 200 billion rupees in tax revenue that had been evaded has still not been recovered. But they have managed to trap the rest of the citizens in a tax trap. This crisis won't stop politicians from engaging in overseas tours. They will use the taxpayers' money to pump fuel to government vehicles to go on their private tours.
These are the views expressed by political parties on the recent tax hike.
The sugar tax scam itself costed us billions. I think the amount we lost here is close to 20 to 25 billion rupees by now. State Minister Siambalapitiya affirmed that the government has lost this amount owing to the sugar tax scam. There is no point mentioning the amount repeatedly. What you need to do is think of a way to reimburse it. You are taxing everyone today. You need to strengthen the mechanism of collecting these taxes from the people who evade taxes. At one point, the government claimed that they can only earn around 70 billion rupees by taxing personal incomes of citizens. Again, they claim that they are expecting to collect around 100 billion rupees through this. Even the government cannot estimate the actual value here. After destroying everything in the country and throwing innocent people under the bus, today they are shamelessly claiming that they don't have money to even hold an election and that they have no choice but to continue this way. The same people who pushed this country into a crisis by deceiving the masses will never be able to save this nation. Fuel prices and electricity tariffs have increased. Even the price of goods have skyrocketed today. We know that it is too much for state sector workers to cope with. We are continuing discussions on the prevailing economic crisis and we hope to raise these concerns as a party during the party group meeting and urge them to think twice on this aspect. This government wants to collect these taxes, but the people cannot bear this sudden increase. Even Lord Buddha once said, you need to levy the people in a way a bee extracts pollen from a flower. But I have a serious concern as to how our president, who always quotes the Buddha, missed this part. The government is trying to imply that they are following a Saradiyal strategy to tax the rich and serve the poor. But this is a dangerous strategy to follow. This will not only destroy our economy but also create a huge impact on the service sectors and the livelihoods of the people. This government is killing our people and the economy. We urge Ranil Rajapaksa to amend this tax policy immediately. It's the people who bring food into Ranil and the Rajapaksa's table. Therefore, you need to understand that if someday the people run out of food, you will also suffer in hunger. As the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, we are sure that we can topple this government and establish a Samagi Jana Balawegaya-led government within this year. We know that a government needs taxes to function, but we will reduce this tax policy under a Samagi Jana Balawegaya-led government because we need to ensure that the people can survive first. This country needs a tax policy which the people can bear.
Keeping up with some of the headline-making stories, President Ranil Wickremesinghe attended an event at the BMICH to mark the 74th Republic Day of India yesterday. The Rhythm of Harmony took place at the concert hall of the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall to mark the 74th Republic Day of India with the participation of President Ranil Wickremesinghe as the chief guest and the guest of honor. UDX, a globally acclaimed musical band from Nagaland in the northeastern part of India, performed at the show along with the Sri Lankan heavy metal quintet band Stigmata. The private plane filed by Venerable Tiniyavala Palithathero against former governor of the central bank Ajit Nivard Cabral was withdrawn today. Accordingly, Colombo Fort Magistrate Dilina Gamage ordered Ajit Nivard Cabral to be released from the case.
President's counsel Maitri Gunaratna, appearing for Venerable Tiniyavala Palithathera, announced in court that the plaint will be withdrawn due to a technical error, reserving the right to refile the case.
ඊට වඩා වැඩියෙන් ගන්නවා. ගණන් හදලා බලන්න.
හැබැයි දැන් නම් රට සාමාන්‍ය තත්ත්වයට යනවා කියලා තමයි මහ බැංකුව අධිපතිතුමා කියන්නේ.
අපි සතුටුයි කියන්නේ. ඔබතුමාට ඒ වගේ හිතනවා නම් සතුටු වෙනවා. ඔබතුමා සතුටු වෙන්න. සතුටු වෙන්න. හරි? ඔබතුමා සතුටුනේ? ඔබතුමා සතුටුයි. මම රට හරි පැත්තට යනවා නම් සතුටුයි.
We're going in for a short commercial break. Stay tuned for more of the very latest.
News First, main sponsor.
Darden's Hospital, dedicated to you. Experience the best in healthcare at Darden's Hospital's new Alfred Place wing. We continue to evolve into a purpose-built hospital of the future, with an ambience built to deliver world-class care. Darden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Welcome back to the news. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has decided to maintain policy interest rates at their current levels. Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe said he is hopeful that assurances from creditors can be obtained within the first quarter of the year.
India has clearly given financial assurances which is acceptable to the International Monetary Fund. That is very clear. It's very clear. It's all public domain, which has all the necessary assurances in that letter. And we first of all we should thank Indian authorities for issuing that letter in the first place. Secondly, the other bilateral creditors, the Paris Club and China, and some other small bilateral creditors are also in the process of issuing financial assurances. There have been a lot of very significant communications that has been happening between the IMF, between the Paris Club and other non-Paris Club members, and also with the Minister of Finance. That basically that process is making a very good progress. This is where we think. In fact, the issuing financial assurance is a matter between the creditors and the IMF. So what is expected is that creditors will issue this letter to the IMF in line with their debt targets. Then IMF will have to look at it and make a decision. These assurances are sufficient for them to go ahead with the IMF board approval. They are in this process. There has been a very constructive engagement and discussion going on even right now. And as a result, we hope that we would be able to, IMF would be able to receive necessary financing assurance from all the creditors in a very short period.
But will you go back to China at this point and ask for something more? Was the China Exim Bank's offer in line with expectations or short of expectations?
I don't think I can comment on that.
The relevant authorities appearing at the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka have agreed to ensure a continuous supply of electricity during the period of the GCE Advanced Level Examination.
The chairman of the PUCSL, secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy and other parties appeared before the Human Rights Commission today after being summoned to the commission.
As the Human Rights Commission, we fulfilled our responsibility by calling for a discussion with the PUCSL, CPEDCO, CEB and other parties this morning. We considered everyone's concerns and reached an agreement to provide an uninterrupted supply of power since exams are on from the 23rd to the 17th of February. An agreement was also signed. Accordingly, the PUCSL and the CEB promised to provide power supply continuously.
The Samaki youth lawyers on Wednesday recalled a statement made by the president when he was in the opposition regarding power outages.
His statement is in the Hansard. Call it fate, but the MP at the time is now the president and head of the cabinet. He may not remember that, but we do. As per the Constitution, Article 12(1) says that all persons are equal before the law and are entitled to the equal protection of the law. He made those comments a year ago and it has come back this year. So is the statement made by MP Ranil Wickremesinghe valid under the administration of President Ranil Wickremesinghe?
The National Election Commission, in a letter to the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, has inquired over the possibility of making available the facilities required for the upcoming election.
The letters inquired the central bank's position to provide US dollars for the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and the Ceylon Electricity Board to supply electricity and fuel for the election. At the recent meeting with the National Election Commission, the CPC and the CEB had pointed out that they are short of US dollars to ensure a continuous supply of electricity.
As the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, I do not think I should comment on whether it is suitable or not to hold an election. It does not matter to us. When speaking of foreign exchange, when our liquidity resources were low, we had a system where 25% will be directed only for essential needs. After December, we have intervened in this. There are reserves with the banks, so we have told them to deliver for essentials like the CPC and gas. We will provide only if they cannot. So if we take a look at our reserves from December to January, the amount that we deliver has reduced because that amount can be sourced from the banks. By the looks of it, the banks have no issue in foreign exchange.
Anura Kumara Dissanayake emphasized the need for a new mandate to recover the country's economy by taking part in a discussion organized by the National People's Power Economic Council.
A large number of people, including entrepreneurs and various professionals, participated in this discussion held in Colombo.
A highway is not looked at from the angle of how many vehicles go to Kataragama. We look at a highway from the angle of how much it contributes to the economy. If you look in that angle, there is no expressway from Matara to Mattala. I tell the government we focus on two main areas only. One is energy and second is financial market. Our proposal is to push the economy towards its growth and economic expansion. We have the ability to improve tourism within a year, to build a regime where the income of migrant workers' remittances can come as a net income as a single unit. Whether we like it or not, we have to change our lifestyle for a short period of time. This might hurt, but what government can function like that? Only a government with a mandate can do that. What should people do when there is a crisis? We need to form a government to save us from this crisis. Then the people in general will give some time to this administration, and only during that time these problems can be solved. A failed ruler will not build a country that he led to failure. We need to build trust. Only a government that has a mandate from the people can do that.
Colombo Fort Magistrate Trinagamage ordered the convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, Vasantha Mudalige, to be further remanded to the 8th of February.
The order was made when the case filed under the charges of forcible entry into the President's office on the 9th of July was called up. Cases have been filed in this regard against 73 people, including Vasantha Mudalige. Meanwhile, the IUSF staged a silent protest opposite the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa visited the Valikata prison today to inquire into the well-being of trade unionists Ananda Palitha and Sanjeeva Dhammika, who opposed moves to hike electricity tariffs and are currently in remand custody.
We are truly saddened by the injustice faced by those who spoke on behalf of the suffering masses at a time the people are barely making ends meet. Ananda Palitha and Sanjeeva Dhammika stood against increasing electricity tariffs. They did not engage in violence. They merely exercise their right of freedom of expression. That is a fundamental right. This country is not a dictatorship. It is a democratic country. The democratic rights of Ananda Palitha and Sanjeeva Dhammika must be protected. The Samagijana Balavege will stand with these two comrades.
An armed gang broke into a private bank in Gampola and didn't just steal cash, they took away an entire automated teller machine.
At around 1 a.m. on Wednesday, an armed gang broke into a private bank in Gampola and they took away an entire automated teller machine or an ATM for cash deposits. Sri Lanka police said that the gang had arrived in a van and committed the theft after intimidating the security officer. Sri Lanka police said that over 7 million rupees was in the cash deposit ATM at the time. The van used by the gang of thieves and its driver were found in Peradeniya. Sri Lanka police said that the driver was found inside the van with his limbs tied.
The Swiss ambassador to Sri Lanka, Dominic Fugler, visited Batticaloa today.
During his visit, the ambassador and his delegation met with representatives of the Federation of Muslim Organizations. The discussion took place at the main hall of the Federation of Muslim Organizations. Thereafter, the ambassador visited the Kusalanamale Kumaran Kovil, an archaeological heritage site in Karadiyanaru, and obtained blessings, following which he had a meeting with the office bearers of the Kovil. He also engaged in a cordial discussion with the young men and women in the area.
The Trust for Good Governance in Sri Lanka launched the People's Convention for Good Governance in Colombo today.
The convention aims to shed light on economics, political law, education and societal matters, as well as female representation.
Education is the foundation, or I would like to call it the cornerstone for good governance. Sri Lanka's adult literacy is supposedly 92%. Student literacy is about 95%. School enrollment is near 95%. Today, Sri Lanka remains barely above Afghanistan and Pakistan, even in South Asia. That is our level of education, training, and our understanding of the world. So that's a big question that we have to ask ourselves. With such literacy, such school enrollment, why are we still like this?
We are trying in our own small way to put these things right. That's why we want to tell the world that we are going to do this now. And on the 25th of February, we are going to work on 4 panels who are the experts in education, in economy, in productivity. Now we want dollars, investment and ethnicity.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News here on TV1. For more news, log on to our award-winning website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Debbie Paldano. Take care and good night.